Monday, June 23rd, about 11:20 in the morning. It's the All 32 Pod. Mike Giardi, Will Parkinson alongside, as always. We're a proud member of the CLNS Media Network. Show brought to you by Prizepicks, the number one North America daily fantasy sports app. Download today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 when you play 5. Prizepicks, run your game. As we did last week, we did the best supporting cast in the AFC. We're going to do the NFC, which I found much more difficult and stacked. But before we get that, some news about the Jets owner maybe dipping his toes into ownership overseas. What do you got, Will?
Yeah, no, it was reported over the weekend. We'll see, what it really means. It may mean nothing NFL-wise, but we've seen obviously a ton of involvement from American owners in the Premier League and in English clubs in general across multiple divisions. Obviously, we see it a lot. Anyone that's familiar with Always Sunny and Ryan Reynolds, obviously Wrexham, and frankly, what they've done is insane. They're going to be in the Premier League in the next 2 or 3 years, and they were a non-league team 3 years ago. Money will do that for you in a sport without a salary cap. But, Woody Johnson looks to be buying, I think, 45% or 43%, much less of Crystal Palace. He would be the majority owner in terms of actual, stake in the club. 190 million euros or 109 million pounds, I apologize. A lot cheaper, frankly, than I thought. We saw the Lakers get sold, the majority share gets sold. That also deal was a little fugazi with, they already owned a large percentage. They bought a lot of the other percentage at a much higher valued number, even though they didn't pay $10 billion. Whatever, that's a conversation for another day. And me and you have a spinoff show on some random news network one day. We'll talk about that stuff more. But yeah, it's big news because we've seen again a lot of Cronkies and a lot of other folks, the Henry Group, obviously, which you deal with on a day-to-day basis, FSG and whatever. There's just a lot going on of American involvement in terms of ownership there. And again, the Jets are one of the highest valued franchises. A lot of people want the Jets to be sold. And you wonder, does this maybe motivate them to delegate and sell part of the Jets and sell 20% of the Jets? Honestly, if anything, Mike, I almost feel like it's just adding to a portfolio. We've seen the Yankees do this with AC Milan. Obviously, we mentioned, the Red Sox and investing in Liverpool and these different things. So the Glazers with Tampa and obviously Manchester United. So we've seen this a ton. I just thought it was interesting to talk about because, again, there's so much going on right now that it kind of went under the radar of, again, the Jets are valued at $6-7 billion. And you do wonder, one of these major markets in the NBA, we didn't think the Celtics and Lakers would get sold, and they did. You wonder, Red Sox, Patriots, obviously these teams are not up for sale. I'm just saying, what would the Patriots go for in today's market? What would the Dallas Cowboys go for? What would the Jets and Giants go for? These teams where we see these values, there's only 32 of them. They're all for sale very, very, not often. And, obviously the Commanders a few years ago, Josh Harris, we saw a total transformation of that organization. It's something to keep an eye on just as the business of football.
Would let's just say Woody decides that he wants to focus a lot of his energy on Crystal Palace. Would that be a good thing or a bad thing for the Jets?
So conventionally, everyone would say it's a good thing. And it's hard to disagree. The record the last 15 years speaks for itself, all the different things. And I agree to an extent. That said, when Woody's in charge, yeah, there's the dynamics with the kids and his brother, and there's a lot of other things. When Christopher Johnson was in charge of the Jets, while Woody was a part of Trump's administration, they hired McCagnon, Gase, Darnold, Zach Wilson, Saleh, Douglas. Aaron Rodgers didn't work, and Aaron, of course, had popped up with a bunch more comments this weekend. But generally speaking, the Jets have been successful at points under Woody. He does want to win. He cares too much about the back page, and there's different things. So I actually not sure that I would. Again, the headline would be, oh wow, Woody's not involved. Last time Woody went away, the Jets unveiled the most disgusting uniforms I've ever seen. They hired Adam Gase from a division rival, and they were one of the worst teams in 2020 I've ever seen in my life. So, no, I can't believe I'm saying this. I don't know if they'd be better off without Woody is involved.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing to think about when you just bring up what Chris did in that short time. I mean, look, I guess I can't complain about the Douglas Saleh hiring because at the time I don't think anyone thought oh, what's he doing? Obviously, it proved to be a what you're doing situation. Didn't work out that well. But at the time, I didn't have as much of a problem with it. It just, and maybe the Douglas thing went on a little bit too long. All right, before we transition to the NFC, the best supporting cast, and again, when we do this, the quarterback is taken out of the equation. So when you start listening, like, what's Giardi talking about? Quarterback's not in the mix. He's out. We're talking about offensive line, coordinators, wide receivers, tight ends, running backs, that whole thing, not the quarterback. Before we do that, I want to talk to you about something that's a little more serious than what you would normally hear from us as we're talking about some of our sponsors of the program. I'm going to talk to you about life insurance. And it's interesting because when I was growing up, Will, get married, what do you need life insurance for? Like, I'm not making any money. She's not making any money. We don't have a house. We're not worried about that. You get a house, you start to think like, okay, now like the bigger bills and some more important things. Then I had kids. The first one, all you want to do is make sure that they're taken care of. If anything, God forbid, happens to you, you want to make sure that their life is taken care of. The bills are paid. The roof is over their head, the whole 9 yards, their education, that sort of thing. And that's when I immediately was like, I don't know what took me so long, but that's the thing that motivated me. I wanted to get involved. I had to get life insurance. So that's just, for me, that was a big deal. Ethos is now a sponsor for us, the online life insurance platform that makes getting life insurance fast and easy to protect your family's future, which, again, as I'm talking about, is such an important thing for me. You want to make sure that that's all taken care of. There are no complicated processes with this thing. It's 100% online, no medical exam required. Just answer a few health questions, get a quote, do it in as little as 10 minutes. I mean, like that, I don't want to be online trying to fill out forms and looking for other stuff. That's not how this works. You can get a quote in as little as 10 minutes, as I said. You can get same-day coverage without ever leaving your home. And again, without needing the medical, again, that can be a big hassle. Try to find a doctor these days that can see you and give you a physical. Not the easiest thing to do. You don't have to worry about that here. Life insurance, more affordable than you think. With Ethos, you can get a free quote and a customized rate that fits your budget. You get up to $3 million in coverage. Ethos, a trustworthy company that disrupts the traditional life insurance industry. As of March 2025, Business Insider named Ethos the #1 medical team instant life insurance provider. Over 3 million families have completed their applications and trusted Ethos to find the right coverage. Protect your family life insurance from Ethos. Get a free quote at ethos.com/all32. That's our code. Again, ethos.com/all32. You won't regret it. All right, moving on. 16 teams in the NFC. I felt good about maybe 4 or 5 of the teams that I rated. I think you could convince me to change dramatically in various spots because that's how difficult I found this. Will, I would start with just 16. I think it's the Seahawks.
So, yeah.
Clint had 2 nice games with New Orleans. And look, mostly not his fault. Carr's injury, Olave, a bunch of things went wrong there. But I don't know what he's going to be. I like the system. I'm just not sure he's the right guy for the system. Then you start to look at the run game's been inconsistent there. JSN's a player on the rise, but then beyond that, you trade DK Metcalf. What are they going to be? Their offensive line has, quite frankly, struggled for multiple years. And so to me, just what's around Sam Darnold, and again, this removing Darnold from the equation, but like what they've given him, I don't know if it's enough.
Yeah, I had the Seahawks at 15. So it wasn't like, 15. It's not like I just don't know. The offensive line to me is one that like could get better. Again, I think it's a lot of projection. I don't know. It almost feels a little bit Patriots-esque where like I like the running backs. The offensive line has potential to be much better if some of these young guys click or some of the guys that are paid well click. Play caller is either proven or in Clint's case, like had some nice moments. But again, how much was situation? How much was Josh's situation in Vegas on him versus how much do you rely on the Patriots' success in the past or things like that? Receivers also weird because I feel like on name-wise, yeah, it's great. They just have 2 guys that I think occupy the same part of the field, and I don't know how they're deployed. So, yeah, I had the Seahawks 15. I actually had the Saints 16. I got to be honest.
I had the Saints 14, yeah.
I don't have much. I don't want to like poo-poo them because, again, there's hey, can Alvin Kamara be the guy of 2 years ago? Maybe. Can Chris Olave play 8 games, 9 games, 10 games without Derek Carr now? Like, maybe, but I'm pretty scared about the concussion thing we saw with with Wes Welker at the end there, where it was like, I felt like anytime he got tackled, you were just like very nervous. And again, it's nothing he can control. It's horrible, but
yeah,
he's a young guy. And I just don't, I don't know.
offensive line is. I mean, I like
Fuaga.
Fuaga. Banks is, like there's potential there, but again, we're talking about
like the Jets, where it's like top 10, top 12 picks, but we've seen like 17 total games. So how are we supposed to evaluate them?
Yeah, and Kellen Moore, and we've talked about it. Like, I don't know that Kellen Moore was this driving force behind the Eagles' success. I think we talked about it at various points during the year, like kind of wondering what he was up to. Now it's Kellen Moore, head coach / play caller, and sometimes, as we've seen, some guys just can't take to that role, or it takes them a little while to take to that role. So I had the Saints 14th, I had the Giants 15th. Look. We can't dispute what Dable did in his first year with Daniel Jones and sort of the offense that he crafted there and getting them to play at a high level hasn't really been the case since. And there are some nice pieces. I mean, Malik Neighbors is he already a top 10 receiver? Probably, right? Like, but okay, what are you telling me they have after Malik Neighbors in terms of the passing game? And I love Tyrone Tracy, but draft Scattaboo. Like, there's some pieces there. Andrew Thomas is a really good offensive lineman, just has a hard time staying healthy. I think the rest of that offensive line is meh. So to me, it's been too long since Daboll was just dialed in like that. And, question about who the quarterback is, question about the pieces around him, question about the health of the offensive line consistently. So that I had them 15. I had the Saints 14. I had the Cardinals 13th. And this could change for me if Marvin Harrison is the player that we thought he was when he got drafted. They don't have necessarily, like, Michael Wilson's a solid receiver, but like they don't have that field stretcher. So Harrison has to do a little bit too much. We know McBride's awesome. They've crafted an incredible run game, although they lost their run game coordinator. So we'll see what that looks like. But to me, like, by and large, the group is okay, but nothing that makes me go, oh yeah. Bet heavy on the Cardinals taking a big leap this year in terms of their offensive skill group.
Yeah, I had the Panthers 14. I got to see it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like,
I had him 12th. Yeah, and you know what? Again, this is one you could probably already. This would be one that maybe you could convince me. I feel like they're going to be good running the football regardless.
Yep.
So they have something to hang their hat on. So much is going to depend in the passing game about, well, again, remove Bryce Young from the equation. Is Tet the guy? Can he be the guy? And does that, him being the guy, does that make life easier for Xavier Legette? And can he take another step forward? I like Legette a lot. I truly do.
But the football.
Yeah, I mean, that's job description number one.
Yeah. I had them 14. Again, I like some things. I just think there's a lot of unproven, like health at the running back position. Can some of those O-line guys take another step? What is Ted? What's Legette? What are they over 17 weeks? Is Canales a really good OC? Is he kind of okay? Like, I just think another full year with Bryce, and this is make or break for a lot of these guys where, I think we thought Bryce did a great job of, when they simplified things, it made it a little easier for him. He started playing better football, but I want to see it over a full year now, because year one was horrific. Year two was very up and down, obviously. What's year three? Is it get better or not? So I had them at 14. I had the Giants at 13. I'm a little higher on the Giants supporting cast. I actually think the biggest issue is still quarterback. The O-line, I think, is not great and probably not even good. Can they be league average with Andrew Thomas? Is that asking too much? It honestly might be.
He just needs to stay on the damn field. Like, if you could tell me right now, hey, he's going to play 15, 16 games at the level he's capable of. Yeah, then it changes the floor of that group, because he really is that good.
Yeah, and what's Dable with Jackson Dart? Because I got to be honest, Mike, maybe this is a hot take. By week 6, he should be playing. I can't believe I'm usually so pro sit a quarterback. They don't have the time to do that.
Right.
And I'd rather have Jackson. Like, if I'm them, I'm saying, hey, man, if you show any signs of progress, I can go to ownership when we're 6-10, 6-11, and say, like, dude, win improvement. We're 1 year away. The whole thing, like, Jackson Dart's going to be really good in year 2. And again, I just think Neighbors, Tracy, those guys, like, Neighbors makes them really hard to put at the bottom, even though, again, what's Neighbors look like in a real in games that matter? Maybe by week 6, like, are they not out of it? After that, I have the Cardinals 13, Cowboys 12, Commanders 12, Cowboys 11. I don't really like any three of these groups. It's funny, the AFC, I think the top talent, we've talked about this, is like, we'll get to some of these teams. It's insane.
Yeah.
The bottom of the NFC is like all pretty horrible. In terms of, like, they all have one or two guys that you're like, ooh, CeeDee Lamb, Terry McLaurin. The Commanders, do you love that O-line? I think they're
adding Tunsil.
But what Tunsil is it, right?
Right, it's true. I was going to say, adding Tunsil, if you're getting, he's not going to be prime Tunsil, but if you're getting, let's say, very good Tunsil, losing Cosme for however long, coming off that bad leg injury, like, I don't know when he's going to be back or what he is going to be when he gets back. I like Connerly. They drafted Connerly, but that's probably, again, that's more of a projection, and we're probably thinking more about Connerly next year than this year. I also looked at I had them 11th, by the way. I looked at the receiver group, and it's, well, first of all, McLaurin.
I think you were both very down on Debo, which is
yes, yeah. Well, I mean, just look at the video, man. Like, what? But then it's Noah Brown's already hurt, right? Luke McCaffrey, Luke got snaps early in the year, and they kind of took those away from him. They drafted Jalen Lane, who's an explosive player out of Virginia Tech, but his route tree and, like, how Virginia Tech used him, I don't know how easy a projection that's going to be for year 1. Running back room is fine. So, like, to me, Ertz is another year older now. Can you really get the kind of year that Ertz gave you? So I feel you where you put the Commanders. I had the Cowboys a little higher. I had them 9th.
Yeah,
and
most of these teams within 1 or 2.
Yeah.
I have an 11, right?
Pickens is a hit or miss guy. I don't love his attitude, all those sorts of things, but it's the first time in multiple years that they've had someone opposite CeeDee Lamb that at least should command some attention from opposing defenses. And I'll admit, with the Cowboys, I'm projecting a little bit on the offensive line because there's a lot of draft capital that they put into that. Booker this year, obviously their first round. Like, so there's.
Do you feel like they have 5 guards?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. That could be a problem. I like Cooper Beebe. I like Guyton coming out. He had kind of a rough year. So can he be?
If Terrence Steele was their right guard, I'd feel better. But he's not.
He's their right tackle. No, I got you. It's fair.
What's shoddy at this point? I think that's my biggest concern is, like, what's this offense in 2025? Is it the Jets offense in 2010? Is it the Seahawks offense from the mid 2015 era? Or is it some of what we saw? Because, and again, I know this is about supporting cast, but, like, their supporting cast is largely affected. They're probably one of the largely affected by their quarterback teams, just because, like, when Dak's playing, they're a different offense and they can do different things. Also, what's the running game going to look like? Because when the Cowboys have been at their best, the running game is a huge dictator. Take the football away on defense. They get after the pass when they run the football well, and they can pepper CeeDee Lamb with targets. That's why they were a team that won 12 or 13 games every year.
You're not buying the Javonte Williams hype?
Well, here's my only thing with Javonte is, like, I felt like he got better last year and he kind of looked more of like his old self, but I still don't think he's back to – that knee injury was really devastating. And if he's not going to be I feel like they're a back of a committee like level room, which is totally fair. Most rooms in the NFL are these days, but I don't know. I just think that it's, like, at best it's a middle of the pack group, and receiver is great name value. Again, like, they just can't afford. I don't think they're a team that can afford one injury at the skill group. I know, and again, I don't tight end wise. Like, do you love Jake Ferguson? I think he's a fine player. No. He's hurt. I feel like he's hurt a lot too.
Would you have given up a 4th round pick for Jonathan Mingo?
I would have had to have a few drinks before I considered a
Yes.
7th-round pick for Jonathan Mingo, let alone a 4th-round pick. So, no, I thought the Pickens move to me felt like, why weren't they like a Devontae team? Why weren't they, I guess money-wise and whatever you can argue, it felt like there was other options that they could have gotten somebody that was like a zero personality receiver and let CD, like his ego, be what it's going to be. I just wonder is there something that's going to happen with the Pickens CD thing where like week 1, George Pickens is like, oh, sweet, I'm in Dallas. I'm going to get 9-10 targets here. And it's like CD Lamb gets 18 targets for 101 yards on 38, catches. And it's like Pickens gets 2 for 41 and he's sitting there like, F this already.
Yeah, the body language doctors are going to have a grand old time with him. You're going to be able to watching tape and a scenario like you presented, which is bound to happen because Lamb is that good and that's Dak's guy, that there's going to be a game where he gets like 4 targets, 3 targets, and he's just loafing on routes, not blocking, getting into fights. As we reported from the Pittsburgh sideline, they had a coach actually like assigned to him to make sure that he didn't lose his mind on the sideline. Like that's the level of dysfunction George Pickens had in Pittsburgh, who has done a real good job with those types of players over the years. So yeah, it's an interesting one for sure. But at least, again, on paper, it gives them an element that it's been several years since they've had that sort of vertical big play guy that maybe can take a little bit off. But again, I probably wouldn't bet on George Pickens behaving himself this year.
Mike, I want to tee you up here. The next two, I personally, this is probably my lowest. I have San Francisco at 10.
It's not crazy. It's not crazy. I have them at 7, but it's not crazy.
I went San Fran Bears 10 and 9. I know it's like the way I've read that. It's absolutely moronic. But the point being, I don't know what San Francisco is. Everyone pretty much good is coming off a major season-ending injury that at the skill group outside of Kittle and Juszczyk, both guys who are approaching 31 and 33 respectively, I believe. The offensive line has had so much turnover. Kyle's an amazing play caller, and like I could put Kyle 1 as the best play caller in the league. But if Christian McCaffrey's not right, yeah, I know, Kyle's able to get a lot out of Jordan Mason and these guys, but it's not the same.
It's not the same.
Kittle kind of feels like every year he's going to play through it, but he's going to get pretty banged up. And I don't love the depth behind him. And at receiver, as much as I just crapped on Debo, like he did bring a different element to their offense. That's obviously now gone. Do you love Juwan Jennings? He's fine. I think he's a fine NFL receiver, and that's fine. Like you get paid for a long time if you can just catch the football and be a good special teamer and block and et cetera. And I think the biggest X factor here is not Trent Williams, because I think this is probably the last year for Trent. Maybe I'm wrong, but it feels like the end of a huge deal, and San Francisco's going to probably have to Trent's not going to go play for free. So if he's going to play, he's going to get paid. My question is Brandon Ayuk. And if Brandon's the number 1, I think he can be off the ACL, which is, again, ACLs with receivers are not easy. Then they go right back to the top 3 or 4 in the NFC. If Brandon Ayuk is a shell of himself again, like what are they offering you in the passing game? I don't know. I was a little lower on San Fran, and then Chicago. I like a lot of stuff. I don't know if I love it. Mm-hmm. I'm in like the phase of how I feel about the Bears. There's a lot of aging or injured offensive linemen they acquired. They acquired a bunch. That's really good. Play caller should be awesome, but I've never seen him as a head coach play caller. So I just want to bake that in a little bit. And then lastly, Mike, is their receiver room awesome, or is it name value awesome? Because I didn't love Rome as a rookie. I thought he did some nice things. DJ Moore's a really nice player, but honestly looked way better with Justin Fields, which is insane. That's something to say out loud. And then Luther Burden might be awesome. He also might be out of the league in 2 years. So I just felt like there was a lot of projection with the Bears.
Yeah, I mean, for me, a big part of this, and I had them 10th, is can Rome take the next step, right? Like he wasn't even quite as good as Marvin Harrison was last year. And Marvin Harrison had a year that we thought should be better, right? So he's got to go to the next place. Loveland and Kmet at tight end, that's exciting to me. Like the running backs. You mentioned the O-line and sort of Joe Tooney, Dahlman. They paid a ton of money, Jonah Jackson. So they've reworked the interior of their offensive line, which is important to have with Caleb not being the biggest guy. But there's enough questions to me about just the overall group in general and the tackles. Like Darnell Wright, it's time. You're 10th pick overall, I think. Like it's time to be that guy. Like he's been flashy at points, but like I need that consistently. And to your point about Johnson, like I just don't know. He's an awesome play caller for Detroit. Now you got a lot more to focus on. We'll see what that translates. I had the 49ers 7th. I mean, you make a lot of fair points. Ayuk, Pearsall's hurt right now. So what's that going to look like? You know, does that set back his conditioning? McCaffrey's age, Trent Williams' age, but they were still a top 10 offense DVOA last year with all that was happening without Ayuk, with the fat Debo, with, you know, like 7 different running backs and the whole 9 yards. So yeah, as you said, like, I guess I don't love Kyle, the head coach. I love Kyle, the play caller. So I guess I'm still giving them the benefit of the doubt that he'll figure out a way, maybe with some lesser weapons, to get it done. I mentioned I had the Cowboys 9th. I have the Falcons 8th here. And I don't know how high you have them. I've said this before. Drake London is not my favorite prototype, that kind of receiver, but he's good. I mean, he's been very productive since he came in. I thought the Mooney signing was a smart one. I think Mooney will do better with Michael Penix if they can keep Penix upright, because we know Penix wants to push the ball and Mooney gets down the field. The Kyle Pitts thing, I mean, they basically anybody want him. So I don't know if that's salvageable at this point. So I kind of ting them for that a little bit. Obviously, like the running back room, how can you not? Bijan's really good, and maybe this time they'll give him the ball an extra, 3-4 times a game, and let him be the kind of playmaker that we think he can be consistently. And the line's fine, right? It's not like it's not awesome. Lidstrom is a really good, one of the best guards in football.
They're the definition of a 1 through 5, everyone being league average or better. That's like the way, and great center, but like 1 through 5, everyone's good. So, you know, they're able to, that's the way you build an offensive line, unless you have a star, is 1 through 5, everybody's just solid and plays 16, 17, a year.
Where did you have Atlanta?
I had them at 7. So I had them one spot higher than you. I actually had the Bucks spot below. I think I did a little bit of projection at OC. Not sure. Again, they just had a lot of turnover, and Baker might be OC proof at this point, his career, which is really cool. Do we know? I love Bucky Irving. I like this offensive line. Receiver is weirdly my question. And I know people are going to crush me for this. Mike Evans is not getting younger, and it does not mean he's not still a good player. It just feels like he's a good player that we obsess over 1,000 yards with every year. And it's kind of like week to week. I don't know if Mike still has like week to week in him. I think he's kind of 10 weeks a year. He looks amazing. 3 weeks, he's going to have a hamstring and play through it. And the other 4 weeks, he's going to look like, that's okay. I'm not trying to trash him at all. He's in his early 30s now as a receiver that's been producing at an insane level for a decade. So he's a great player. I think my question's more around like Godwin and Evans being on the field all at the same time for enough time period. And what are these guys? The more they get hurt every year, again, this is Godwin's second like really big injury. And this one's what we saw with Dak. It took him a while, and Dak's a quarterback. I'm just a little. I want to see it with these guys both on the field again. So again, I had them lower than probably consensus, but I think it's more of me just protecting against injury, turnover. Like Bucky Irving makes me want to put them in like 5 or 4. Yeah. I just that's your guy. So yeah, I had Bucks 8, Falcons 7. I think I share your Falcons. Likes and dislikes. I think my biggest reason for I'm high on the Falcons, I just feel like they have a diverse amount of ways they can attack you. That said, I think this is put up or shut up for like everybody in that building and everybody coaching, front office, not ownership, obviously, but not Penix. And again, Penix has, he's allowed to like go through ups and downs. He barely played last
Yeah.
year. If Bijan's not great this year and he's just a good back, we just are having a different conversation about Bijan because I think he's awesome, but I think it's been a lot of like we think he's awesome and we see these flashes. If Drake's just going to be the 20th best receiver in the NFL, that's okay. Again, I'm not like saying it's a bad thing, but it's just you put them in different conversations. This is put up or shut up for Kyle Pitts, obviously. And I think that goes without saying. So, the Falcons and Bucks, I think you could interchange. The Falcons are a younger group, but it doesn't mean they're necessarily, and I don't mean they have to be better.
I have the Bucks 5th, and this is me looking at an offensive coordinator that I don't know whether he's going to be good or not, and saying exactly what you said. I think Baker's at this point scheme proof. I think your point about Evans and Godwin is a good one. I think that's why Emeka Egbuka was drafted. It's almost like a little bit of insurance. Hey, McMillan was awesome for them last year. So now we have another, and
it's almost like they're telling you they feel the same way.
Right. But so they've given themselves a little bit more insurance depth wise. And maybe at the beginning of the year, if Godwin's not ready, okay, Egbuka's just going to get more run than maybe you thought he was going to get early. I love the offensive line. I think Barton's going to be a stud. We know Wirfs is a stud. So to me, I just felt like, third offensive coordinator in 3 years. It doesn't feel like nothing changed in the last 2.
I probably dig them most for that and health are the 2 reasons. But in reality, like you said, they could easily be 3 or 4. Like
it's a lot of talent. There's a lot of fun talent.
It's a lot of talent. It's just one of those like weird. I want to see it one more time. I think I'm most worried about Godwin. I know we've talked so much around the show about the Patriots and Godwin and these different things. Dislocated ankles are just so like, I don't know, Mike, ankles, shoulders, these places where surgeries. I don't know how many guys you played with in college did this, but like every guy that I played with in college that had an ankle injury, it was just like always a mess. It just can't continuous sprained ankles, continuous ligaments, and these different things. And I'm a little worried that I hope for Chris's sake it's not the case. I'm just a little worried. I don't know if it's going to fully click, which means it's why you have Emeka Egbuka and McMillan, though, to your point.
I had the Lions at 6. And
so I had the Packers at 6, Lions at 5. So
okay. Initially I felt like, is this a little low? But then here's where Ben Johnson was so instrumental, I think, in designing an offense and helping to get Jared Goff to another level that I am wondering if Morton can step in and make that seamless transition. I think that's going to be hard. And look, Jared's been around long enough that he kind of knows, what he is and what he wants, but is Morton going to be stubborn? Is he going to want to do some different things? Because obviously
he's going to be stubborn. I can assure you. Covered him. He's going to be stubborn.
Because to me, it's like that whole infrastructure remains in place. I mean, Frank Ragnow retiring is a big blow because he's a damn good football player. I don't think he's easy to replace. And we talked about them going into last year with the line aging, and now you've aged out a guy. What can they be? They drafted Tate Radledge and have given him some run at center. He was a guard at Georgia. Like, is he able to step in right away and play a different position? I don't know. Or if he is a guard, did he move one of the guards to center? I like the receiver group, but it's not awesome. Like, Amon-Ra St. Brown's a target machine, really damn good football player. They're pumping up Jameson Williams, and I still expect Jameson to be arrested at least 1 or 2 more times. He's made a crap ton of bad decisions. Maybe this is the year he matures, but I don't know. I don't trust him. I like Laporta a lot. Dealt with some injury last year. They're good. I mean, Jameer and Montgomery, that's an awesome backfield. I just don't know if when you start looking at who the top 5 is, or my top 5, top 4, they're on the outside looking in. It's not the worst place to be because it's still damn talented, but they're not that yet.
Yeah, I went Green Bay. I went Green Bay, then Detroit. So I'm kind of similarly in lockstep. I think Green Bay is really good. I just think I have a couple questions around what really is their receiver room. I think they have a lot of guys we like or proverbially like in some way. They just feel like they're all either hurt or not playing well at the same time. So but again, really good play caller, good offensive line, good backs, tight ends, good. They're just a group of I think really solid. Jacobs is obviously a tier 1 guy, but
yeah,
the rest of everybody kind of feels like they've got like a million number 2 receivers. It feels like, again, maybe people will argue with me on that, but I think Dubs is like a really good player. I think that, like Greenlaw, they're good players. It's just, what are they like? They just making sure they're deployed properly, and there's different things. But again, they're a really good group. Detroit, you mentioned it. I think the questions are more around O-line and play caller. I don't know how much that's going to have fallen off. I'll rattle off the last 3 here, and then you can kind of rattle off yours and tell me where I disagree. You disagree. I had the Eagles at 3, which I know is probably dumb. So I'm fully aware. I had the Vikings at 2 and the Rams at 1.
Okay.
You could convince me easily. Like, this is one of those, like, this isn't politics. Like, you could easily convince me the top 3. I had the Rams at 1 because I feel like they're the most well-rounded group in terms of I think I just really love McVay. I think is the best play caller of the 3. I think O'Connell will be 2, and I think the group in Philly. I'll call it. I'll leave it at that. The group in Philly would be 3 for me. So I've weighted that pretty heavily just because I mean, maybe I know it's not head coach based, but obviously in those top 2 cases, we've talked about it a million times. I love McVay and O'Connell. It's really hard to say anything really negative about them other than could they maybe they get a little too conservative in big playoff games at the end. But again, that's nitpicking. Puka and Devontae and Kyron, to me, like, it's really hard to find a group better. And the only group that's probably better is in Philly. I just went play caller. And I always worry with Philly that it feels like eventually, maybe not, and we say this every year, at one point, does the O-line not be the best group? Is it maybe take one step back? Again, I'm not saying they're not amazing. I went Minnesota at 2, not at 1, just because I feel like I love Jordan Addison, but he's low-key never been like – he's really good. Is he better than Devontae? Is he better than Devontae Smith? No. So I just voted those guys better. And again, at running back with Minnesota, I like Saquon and Kyron better. So that's kind of my logic there. You could tell me I'm wrong. The Rams are realistically, if you pulled the rest of the league, I would tell you that's probably Eagles 1, or Vikings 1, then the Rams at 3. I think I just weighed McVay as like this out, like 2x McVay versus everything else, we talked about.
So I had the Rams at 4, and it hurt me because of McVay, because of what we talk about. I feel like almost every week at some point during one of our 2 shows, we come back to like, oh, did you see what McVay did? You see it, what they so
yeah.
My thing about them is I don't love the offensive line. I think it's in a lot of places it's terrible. It's just kind of sort of average. And look, it's history tells me Puka's not going to stay healthy. And so I have a hard time just like, if you told me Puka's going to play 15, 16 games and be Puka, that with Adams, like, okay, I probably raise them up a level. So I had them at 4. I had the Packers at 3. And I totally see your point about the wide receiver room. We think that they're good. In some cases, they are good. I don't think there's a 1 in that group yet. So I get it. But if you're telling me, so I'm looking at the depth chart right now. So it's Jaden Reed, Golden, Dubs, Wicks, Christian Watson, who's coming off the knee, although he posted video, like he's running around pretty good so far. So maybe, by October, he's back on the field, or early November. Like, there are enough guys in that group that I think, like, okay, well, maybe I don't have the 1, but I have 2 through 5 covered pretty well. Like, you start to muddle all those guys together. And I like the offensive line a ton. Jenkins, the big money for Aaron Banks, who he got overpaid, but like, he's an upgrade for them. Zach Tom at right tackle. Speaking about it, he's about to get paid. So I like that group. So I had him at 3. I had the Eagles at 2. Question about
we both didn't have them 1. That makes me happy, just because I feel like
question about play caller is a thing for me, because I don't know that Jalen's necessarily scheme proof.
Oh, I do not think he's scheme proof at all.
No, and then Lane Johnson's 34, 35. Like, he's been awesome.
I saw our friend Brandon Thorne say he's never been playing at a higher level, and I don't disagree. But I feel like we said this with Trent, and it does start to be an injury here or there.
Yeah.
Like if Lane Johnson misses 4 weeks, will they be fine?
Yeah.
Yeah, but we actually saw in 2023, I believe, Lane Johnson got hurt. I remember even just the Jets game. Lane Johnson gets hurt, and like Bryce Huff must have had 10 pressures the second he got off the field. So I just wonder, like, if him or Mailata get hurt, as much as I like their depth, those guys are so crucial that it's like.
I mean, Lane's the best right tackle in football, or the second best right tackle in football. So
right in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. I mean, if he's out or he's seriously injured and impaired to the point where you got 60% of them, yeah, it totally changes their line. So look, I don't.
Also, I guess we haven't talked about this a lot in a while. AJ's kind of skated like the line right now of how amazing he is on the field and when he's engaged or when he's not. And he's still a top 5 receiver. People will probably say in the top 10. Other people will tell you he's the top 2 receiver. So I'll just settle the top 5 guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not disrespecting AJ Brown. I just feel like he's always had the knee thing. And it kind of has always been like he's going to play through it, or hey, we're going to put him on ice for a week, or there's the blow-ups on the sideline, and it feels like it's kind of. I just wonder if it reaches its breaking point where it becomes a nuisance this year, because now he's gotten the ring, he's gotten paid, he's gotten the whole. It's like everything is lined up where what's left for AJ to like be there if he's not fully happy.
Right, and his favorite guy, his champion, Mike Vrabel, has a new job, and we spent some time talking about this in the offseason, and I always thought it was crazy the Patriots going to trade for him because his signing bonus, financially, it would have been a disaster for Philly to do it. After this year,
different conversation.
Window opens a little bit more. So if the Patriots,
little Randy post 2010, where it's like Bill was like, "It's been amazing, but I feel like it's going to go downhill at some point, and I'm going to get out ahead of it." I'm not saying that's the same thing, but Randy's a top 2 receiver ever for me. So it's not. I'm just saying I wonder if that's
if the Patriots are an 8-9, 9-8 football team and are picking somewhere between 16th and 21 or 22,
they talk themselves into.
Hey, we'll give up the 18th pick for AJ Brown and think you can get like 2 or 3 really elite years because him, Vrabel, the whole thing. Yeah, that's a conversation that. Well, I'm sure. Look, I know at some point during the year he's going to do something that we're going to have to talk about and say, like, are they at a breaking point with him? Because that's just generally that's that position, and that's been who he is. I had the Vikings at 1, and O'Connell, McVay, Shanahan, like 1, 2, 3, whichever order you want to put them in. I love them. I think that the environment for the quarterback, again, we're tossing aside in the supporting cast, but it creates a great environment. You've got Justin Jefferson, who he and Jamar Chase, 1A, 1B at receiver. Addison, yes. TJ Hawkinson, terrific. Darrisaw and O'Neal at tackle. Both dealt with some injuries, both really good players. Reshaped the entire interior of their offensive line. Will freeze Ryan Kelly, be a little bit more physical in the run game, which I think was a big point for O'Connell this offseason. Like, where are they weak? It's not, I don't, again, health would be to me like the biggest concern here. Maybe I don't love the third receiver. Jalen Naylor is whatever, but that's a pretty good group. I don't think you go wrong with any one of these. And you saw some good variation between your top 5 and my top 5. And I didn't look at you go, you're crazy. I don't think you looked at me and you said you're crazy. It's kind of what you value and what you like. But it's clear the supporting cast in the NFC, they don't have the quarterbacks that the AFC has, but the supporting casts are, how many of these teams, how far down would you go and say that's a top 3 AFC supporting cast? You'd probably go down to 49ers, Lions,
Yeah, and that's even that's borderline. The difference is we saw in the Super Bowl the best quarterback versus the best team. We had the best coach and the best quarterback versus the best team, and the best team beat the brakes off them. So football, after all, Mike, is in fact a team game, as much as the NFL doesn't want you to believe that's the case. Very much like basketball is also a team game. And, we saw the Thunder win last night. Quickly, what would your NFL comp, I need to not prepare for this, if you had to compare the an NFL team or run to a Super Bowl to what we saw in OKC, is there one that comes to mind for you? I'm just curious what you would.
I'm going to go in the Wayback Machine. I'm going to go back to the pre-Colts driven rule changes on how defenders could play the pass, with the way that Ty Law and Rodney Harrison and the like grabbed, punched, hit, held, Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, Dallas Clark, those Patriots teams in that 2003, 2004, 5 in that era. That's how Oklahoma City plays defense. I don't know if you've seen some of the clips going around. And look, the refs were generally consistent calling it both ways, although I thought it was a little bit lopsided in OKC's favor. Like TJ McConnell's trying to dribble, and Cason Wallace has literally got his wrist. He's holding his wrist in front of the ref. No call. Hey, you know what? It's hard to dribble when you don't have your hand, when one of your hands is being held by a defender. But
breaking news from Mike Sherry.
Yeah, just past experience as a guy who had to hold a lot of people in that regard playing hoops. Yeah, I think it's difficult. But the Halliburton injury was just brutal.
I don't mean to be a dick. It was so obvious.
Oh yeah.
Not like the second that he had a calf strain. Realistically, what they should have done, and again, it's hindsight's 2020, is sit him game 6 and hope that the extra 4 days. But not to bring it back to the Jets, we saw with Rodgers, he had the calf strain in May to June.
Yeah.
Didn't miss a practice, which again, no comment. Once we'll go throughout camp, and eventually, it's just tough. And the East is wide open. And I wonder, Celtics-wise, as we finish here, I do wonder, do they potentially sit there and say, maybe we shouldn't blow this up? And then they go, hey, Jalen could get us to be a 5 seed. Whatever, I don't know, making this up. And maybe Jason's back within 10 months. That means he's really back in March or April. Can we rev him up enough by that time to get him back? And maybe we get creative we get rid of Drew in KP, but we take on some younger guys that we make it work. We love our coach. We love our system, the whole thing. I think they're the most interesting team now, because them and the Knicks, I mean, no offense, the Knicks on paper should be the 1 seed now, right? They were the 3 this year, and 2 teams ahead of them, the Pacers weren't ahead of them, but whatever. My point being, the East in the NBA is going to be horrible next year. The starting All-Star game is going to be like Jaylen Brown, Trae Young, Jalen Brunson, added freaking God knows Cam Thomas. And it's what are we watching here?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's definitely leaning very much into the Western
Jokic,
Conference.
Luka, LeBron, SGA.
Yeah, and Cooper Flagg, Anthony Davis, and Kyrie Irving in Dallas.
Future Celtic, Cooper Flagg.
Oh, jeez. If the internet is crazy sometimes. Let's not sometimes, all the time. It's like, oh, well, you could just trade Sam Hauser, 3 future firsts, and give him KP, and that'll get the number 1 pick. Yeah. Okay.
Trade our white guys for your white guys.
Yeah. That's not going to work. I did a bad job because Prizepicks is awesome, and obviously they're our presenting sponsor, and I'm just getting around to reading them here as we wrap up. NBA, to basketball, to hockey, all that stuff. So you've got Major League Baseball, you've got women's basketball, and soon enough, there are going to be football games to focus on. And obviously with Prizepicks, the number 1 daily fantasy sports app in North America, you can get involved, pick up to 2 players, as many as 6 to win up to 2,000 times your money. So just download the app today. Use the code CLNS to get 50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today. Use the code CLNS to get 50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prizepicks, run your game. So Prizepicks, I love you. My apologies. And for those listening to the show, we ask you to subscribe to the podcast, like and leave a review. For those watching the show on CLNS, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe to the Patriots Press Pass YouTube channel, where you can find our show and a lot of other great Patriots and elite content. Also, please make sure to turn on your notifications so you know the moment a new video drops. He is Will Parkinson. I am Mike Giardi. We will see you again at the end of the week. Try to beat the Heat this week because I believe 101 on Tuesday. I like the Heat, but I don't like that. All right, we'll talk to you.